ready?
12, right?
13.
But we're not saying
We're
it.
not saying
She's not
it
saying
anymore.
it.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Simply Put Radio. I am your host, Chef Stacy, and I have my beautiful co-host with me. My beautiful co-host with me, Makini and Leticia.
Bikini and Leticia. Bikini and Leticia.
That's our theme song. I like that. That was good. Yeah, we did.
Wow.
That was really cool.
So
Like,
it's
we were
like,
good.
right.
We really are good.
That was fair, right?
Yeah, it was good. Anyway,
Get me in the studio.
So we have a wonderful topic and a very special guest in the building tonight. My good friend Rob Chandler. Is that my over voice? Oh, we got a little your over voice.
Get some beatbox too.
And no, so let me tell you seriously, we got Rob in the building. Let me tell you guys, this brother's story is so incredible. I cannot wait for you all to hear the gems and jewels and things that he's going to bless us with this evening. So, how do y'all want to do this? The thing is, we all know each other. So, but a lot of stuff we're going to be hearing are things that we didn't necessarily know about you. So I'm interested to hear it. We're going to learn today.
Learn today. Yeah.
So anyway, I think I'll turn it over to Makini and Leticia. But before we get into everything, make sure to follow us on at Simply Put Radio everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Oh, thank you. YouTube. We're practicing for TV now. And just make sure you follow us and let us know what you think about the show, any interesting ideas that you'd like us to talk about, all that good stuff. And now let's get into it. So who wants to start off with the questions?
Well, to tell the audience a little bit about what this topic is, this is a series that we're doing, and we're going to focus on each individual person. Tell us a little bit about you and how your journey that brought you to where you are now. So that's what we want to kind of learn about.
And then before we get into the journey, just so you all know, Rob is the owner of Revolution, which is an amazing, the best, the greatest, the baddest,
Revolutionary.
that was the most
Don't
revolutionary
stop.
cycling studio in Las Vegas.
You
Like,
fan
and I'm not
this
even
flame.
saying that.
Fan the flame, baby.
No, but seriously, it's like the first time I took a cycling class was with Rob, and I was blown away. And I wasn't into cycling, but I'm like a diehard fanatic now. So anyway, this brother now is an entrepreneur, very successful in his business, but we want to hear the journey so we can help some folks out tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, where you guys want to start?
So where are you from originally? Take me back.
South side of Chicago.
South
30,
side of Chicago.
35th and Rose. It's about 3 blocks from what we call Comiskey Park. You know, we used to watch the fireworks from the baseball field from our areas because that was our entertainment other than gunshots. But that's where I'm from, South side of Chicago.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Perfect.
I used to watch fireworks in the hood too.
What's your hood?
Northtown, Vegas.
From the racetrack?
No, from Cashman Field. True story.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fireworks from Cashman.
No, that's not good.
Have you been to Cashman?
No, have you been to Chicago, South Side? Let's go there now. We're going to go there. Hold on, we turn around.
The beef is with Detroit and Chicago.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh,
Let's just say that he was from.
So
The South Side is not the nicest part of
Yeah,
Chicago.
tell us a little bit for people who are not
Yeah,
familiar
we're not.
with. Like I go to Chicago, I have family in Chicago too. Don't ask me what side of town. I just know they by the railroad track. I don't know where. But usually we go to Chicago and we don't sound like the downtown. You know,
Yeah,
you don't really venture or Hyde Park or something of that sort. So tell
That's
us
what I
about
love. When
Southside.
people say, yeah, I love Chicago, I say, no, you really love the safe zone. And the safe zone is the downtown perimeter. Anything north of what we call like maybe 22nd Street or Roosevelt, you're in that good contained area. But once you leave out of that safe zone, you go whether it's west or south, then you know it's subject to be a journey for you. And so for me, South Side was anything comparable to the West Side. It's just projects all over Chicago. And in the time that I grew up, we lived, right in the heart of the projects. And so that was just my community. And at the time, we didn't think of it as anything of low or income or poverty. It's just what we grew up in. But it was rough though, because I was at the age, I was very fortunate that I grew up in a 2-parent home.
Okay.
And back then that was very rare. And, you know, my family did everything that they could to make sure that they had the best upbringing that they could do. Like, my father never had a job, but my mom worked for corporate America. We lived in the hood, but they did everything they could to make sure that I had all the resources. So I went to a Catholic grammar school, which was in the middle of the projects, and I had to walk through the projects to get to school, which was crazy because I'm going to Catholic school and everybody, here we go. It's like, we're gonna chase you home, we're gonna do those things. But that was my upbringing. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, that's when gangs were really in, like, for real, like the L Rookins and the Vice Lords and different things like that. It was like gangs used to recruit you to come to your house, to knock on your door, like, look, we need your son in our gang.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it was like that. Yeah.
Why?
That's how the gangs work.
Did they see like a skill in you or something? Like,
Wow.
It's just-
Right, yeah, I mean, that's a good
I'm just
question,
saying,
though.
Oh,
like,
it's-
why you?
It's just recruitment. It's just like if you
And at
want
what
to,
age? Like starting around what age?
man,
Just curious.
12, 13 years old.
We're gonna be asking you a lot of questions that
Yeah.
you probably will think are not intelligent, but that's because I can probably vouch for all of us and say.
No,
okay,
but you
go
gotta
with
remember.
that.
See, like I said,
Yeah.
I grew up in a very fortunate surrounding. I had 2 parents,
Right.
where other young brothers didn't have both parents.
So.
And so to get that love or feel like you were needed, you went to the game.
That male bonding.
Right, and so gangs, like, we need more people, because if you had one gang versus another gang, we need to make our gang bigger, so we gotta go recruit.
Right.
So were you recruited?
No, the only reason why I wasn't recruited was because my father was so connected in the hood that he had a lot of respect.
So they
And
weren't going after you.
right, so even though they came but didn't know, but when they found out, then it was like, okay, let's go somewhere else. But I've seen a lot of my brothers get recruited, like straight up pulled out the door, jumped in, and that was,
Oh my gosh. Are
part
you?
of the game.
Do you have siblings?
yeah.
Okay. How many siblings?
Total, if you count like half sisters and brothers, I got like 5 sisters and half brothers. My father was married before, so.
Oh, okay.
So-
I was just like in the home though at that
No,
time.
in that home it was just me and one other sister. Then my other older stepsisters would move and come visit. So there would be things like that. But other than that,
So all sisters?
yeah,
Oh, so you were the only boy.
for the most part, until I found out I had a half brother. That was like 5 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
So you were the only boy.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
So you
okay.
were,
Yeah,
yeah.
I grew
So
up
you,
as the only boy. Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say you grew up on the south side of Chicago, and you had to walk through the projects to get to school each day, but you didn't live in the projects, right?
No, you live.
Yeah,
lived
I
in the
mean,
projects.
ours was just another form of a project. It was so crazy because we lived in this community that was so-called like like the super like projects, the Robert Taylor's, Ida B. Wells State, where they was all surrounding this community called Lawless Garden, but it was like the projects too. It was just like
In the middle.
in the middle of everything, you know. And so I grew up in there, but it didn't stop. You know, the one thing about growing up in low-income housing is that the streets become your true education. The streets became school. You know, we can go to school and learn how to read a book, but the true education came from the street, to learning how to read people, learning how to adapt to your environments, learning how to survive with nothing, you know. And for me, I'll tell anybody, and I tell my 2 young boys right now, they'll tell you right now that they don't go to school to learn. They go to school to learn how to interact with other people. But the life in the streets are their true education out here, because you got to deal with people every day.
Right.
And there's only so much that books can tell you about people until you actually have that interaction with one another. So coming up, going to school in Chicago, once again, my father and mom did everything that they could, you know, went to the high school, and it was always the goal when you grew up in the hood was to get out of the hood, to move to the suburbs, because that's where the life was.
Right.
When you wanted to move to the suburbs, you had to picket fence and all that. And so that was my father's whole aspiration, was to get us out of the projects. And he eventually did. My last year of high school, we moved out to the suburbs of Chicago. And I remember transferring to school, and he's like, you gotta get on the school bus. And I was like, no, I don't know what that is, and I don't want to get on it. I'm not used to no school bus, right? I didn't really know the difference between white and black until I actually got to probably my senior year of high school, because I grew up with all black. And when I went to high school, the last year, it was like all white. I was like, no, I'm not ready for this right here, because I've been watching Roots and stuff all my life.
You didn't go cut your foot off.
I
Change
know.
your name.
I mean, you'd be amazing of the perspective
What year
that you
was
have,
this?
man. This is
In the 70s?
87. No. 87. Gee, think about 90.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Okay, this was in 87.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here I am at this
So you
white
were-
suburban high school.
Okay, so you
And I
were
mean, it was
drastic
great.
change.
It was some black people there, but I wasn't used to that many white
Right,
people
right.
in,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
one school. I grew up
Sure.
in all black where there were no white people.
I can relate to that because that's how I felt moving from Detroit to here to Las Vegas. I felt the same way. But the only difference is that I did have some exposure to other cultures, just because, you know, like my parents would fly me around different places. But for the most part, it was a culture shock for real. So I can understand your hesitancy.
Yeah, I mean, the average person that came from where I was, they didn't do a lot of traveling. You know, to get downtown was our biggest travel. You know, like I said, but my parents, I mean, my father, I mean, he hustled 7 days a week so that we can have different stuff. Like, you know, I think I was probably the only kid in 4th or 5th grade who went to Jamaica, went out the country, you know, compared to some of my other brothers and stuff like that, because they never came off the block. They had no opportunity. So that was my father's whole thing, was if I can get you out of this area, you got a chance. But I tell you like this, it really, for the most part, your parents can do everything they can to raise you, but you still got to make choices. And
for sure.
for me, going from high school, I thought high school was boring. It was easy to memorize and to cheat and get through it. And when I got out of high school, I mean, I graduated early, but my parents were like, well, you can't stay here. You got to either go to college or the military. And I was 17 years old, graduated from high school, and I was like, well, I don't want to go to college. So I'm like, you got to go to the military. So I went to the Army at 17 years old. And so.
You went to the Army?
Yeah, 17.
You were in the Army? For
Yeah.
how long?
He said he went to the Army.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was also a lot of I didn't know he was
learn today.
So I didn't want to be in there for a long term, so I signed up for the minimum, which was 2 years.
Okay.
And I went there and did the whole boot camp, and went to, that's when I started really seeing a lot of white people, you know. And I didn't like the military either. I thought it was like a prison. You know, you just got paid because you couldn't do what you wanted to do. You had to report every time. So, and I didn't like the military. I mean, you know, people say, well, you can serve your country. Like, for me at that time, it didn't feel like I was serving my country. It just felt like we were just pawns in a chess match, chess game.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. So,
Why the Army though? Why not like Air Force?
because that was the only one that had the minimum of 2 years you could be in. Everybody else was a minimum of 4. So I got an honorable discharge, and by then we had a GI Bill, so I could go to any school in Illinois for free. And so I go to college. I went to SIU.
So you're ready to go to college at that point, and you didn't really want to go to college.
I was going for free. I just got to do something.
Right.
So
What did you study?
What did I study? Accounting, business management. It was just, you know, it was one of those things where you just take whatever.
General, just everything.
Yeah, just general. But
Did you have a vision like growing up? I mean, you're a kid, so I mean, most of us may or may not have that. But did you have some kind of idea like I want to do this or I want to go here?
No, my only vision was to be, honestly, my vision was to be like my father, my uncles and uncles, cousins. I wanted to be a hustler. That's what I knew. I saw that life. I mean, from what I saw, that was a great life.
So then why
Hold
was
on, I
that?
have a question.
So why
When
go
you
to
say
college?
hustler,
Thank you. We on the same page.
Yeah.
explain what that
Yeah,
means.
like what you hustling?
Well, my people.
Because it has so many different meanings. I
Okay,
learned
so
that going to
yeah,
Google,
exactly.
and
for
I'm like,
me,
oh, he's a hustler.
okay, so hustler is for when we grew up compared to now is the definition of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, okay.
My father said he would never work for anybody.
Right.
And so what he did was he created his own opportunity.
Mhm.
See, back then, people used to hit up these freight trucks and trains with the
Right.
stuff, the lotions for Walgreens and different things like that, and say, hey, we got this shipment that just came in, and my father would get the stuff and go to the beauty shops and barber shops and sell it.
Right.
He was Victoria's Secret mobile. When they went mobile, he would go get lingerie and go door to door sales.
Yeah.
He would go to the big wholesale meat companies to buy meat and then turn around and resell it. That's what we call
So
hustling.
he would go buy all this stuff at wholesale
Yeah.
and then go resell it
Right.
in the
In our
area you
community.
live. Okay,
Right.
got it.
So that's what we call hustling because you always have something going on.
Yeah.
You always have multiple streams of income coming in.
Okay.
That was hustling because hustling really means that you never stop.
Yeah.
You're always on the grind.
Gotcha.
So that
Okay.
was our definition of entrepreneurship, was hustling. And so I like that because you had freedom. You could come and go. You still had to work hard, but you didn't have to report to anybody.
You're working hard for yourself. too.
Right. And so, I grew up watching my father work hard for his family.
Mhm.
So I'm like, man, I want to be like that. And then they had the blessings of the streets and the joy, you get to turn up, party, everyone knew you, you know what I'm saying? It was just, man, it was just fun. So that's what I grew up. That's what I wanted to be.
A hustler.
Hustling, right.
And so you were in college for how long?
2 years.
Okay.
And then I got in trouble.
Yeah, what happened
So
with the trouble?
So went to Army when I was 17. I got out when I was 19. No, I was only in school for like a year and a half. And my father always said, look, I need do it this way. Don't be a hustler. Don't get out these streets. These streets ain't good. Go ahead and get your education, then get a great job with insurance and get your family. And so I went to school. I was interning at different places, a telemarketing spot, a bank, and I met this cat who was working in. And the short version is that basically I told him about the bank that I used to work at. Like, oh my God, I'm like, man, we got Grady working at the bank, with the old revolver gun, man. Like, my bank is so lame. And long story short is that he robbed the bank, and because of the way it was done, he knew it was an inside,
Right.
piece. And so I ended up getting charged with conspiracy, and conspiracy meant that I gave someone information
That led to
that
a crime.
led to a crime.
Mhm.
So here I am, 19 years old,
So you went to jail or prison?
went to prison.
You went to prison for that?
So
Oh, I don't
19
know.
years
Just
old,
for speaking about it.
it's conspiracy.
It's called conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
I did not know that.
Speaking.
I
He just
did
pretty
not know
much
that
was like
people
having a
like-
If you see a crime being committed and you know of a crime being committed and you don't say anything, that is
That's
conspiracy.
and you can go to jail.
Okay, but wait, how did they rob it? Did they do it during the day or they did it at night? Because you
I did it
kind
to the
of,
day during with people.
and you were there.
No, I wasn't there.
But he gave them information. He was
Yeah.
like,
But how did it come
security
back
guard
to
and
you?
shit.
Because of the way it was done, they knew it had to be somebody inside that gave them
So they
information.
started investigating.
You wouldn't be able to.
You were still interning then.
Yeah.
You were still connected to it. It wasn't
Yeah.
like after you left. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you
Oh,
were
you were
working
still
or
there.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
You just weren't there that day.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
So-
how long did you do
Yeah,
that?
and they
I had to
investigated.
do 4.5 years. Yeah.
From age, so that was from age.
So when I was about
19?
20 years old, I went in.
Oh wow.
And then I did 4.5 years. And I tell you right now, it was only by the grace of God that nothing happened to me while I was in there.
Yeah.
Like, it was so crazy because my father was connected from the streets. There were people in there who knew him that, kind of looked out for me. And I say it again, because of the grace of God, I was covered for 4.5 years. And I've seen a lot of things happen in there. But once I got out, I was marked. Y'all thought I was already marked as just being black growing up in the hood. But now going to jail and coming out with a felony on your record, I really had no choice for me at that time to believe that hustling was my only life. And so from then, it was what could I do that didn't require me to have to ask anybody for help. So I started doing mobile car washing, getting a van and a pressure washer, going to people's jobs and houses and washing their cars, power washing the streets.
You were doing your own. This was your business.
own business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so at the age of 24, I got out and I started just doing some things, hustling. But the craziest thing happened, like, by this time, here I am, trying to get back, on the street, trying to create a livelihood, and 26 years old, 24, let me see, 20, 24, 25, I'm back on the streets, I'm grinding, I'm hustling, and it's not enough. And then somewhere down the line, I just started applying for jobs, and I think I was gonna get one, and one day I got a job at AT&T.
With a felony? AT&T?
Trust me, it's a higher power that allowed that to happen.
Shout out to AT&T, looking out for brothers. All right, I switch my service
Hold on a
over,
second.
you know
Hold
what
on
I'm
a
saying?
second. They ain't look out for me because now you might tell me, like, tighten, fine tune these credentials. Let's make sure we go a little bit deeper. I don't know how I actually slid through the cracks.
Wow.
For real. And working for corporate America, but I was still out there hustling. Debt restoration, power, mobile car washing, doing everything. And then
While working at AT&T.
while working there, because that was the whole thing. Like I had to get something because by this time,
What year was this, if you don't mind me asking? AT&T.
man, probably 2007.
Okay.
So in 1996, I think I got out in 1996, and for the next probably 4 years or whatever, 5 years, I was just on the streets hustling.
You worked for AT&T that long?
No, I don't know.
No,
if
you
it
were.
I was hustling until I got to AT&T, which was probably about 2007.
Okay.
And I only worked for them probably like 3 years.
Oh,
I think
okay.
so, around 3 years. And but by then, running the streets, I met my ex-wife from the streets, and she and I've been knowing each other for 15 years now. But and even then, when I met her, I was still running the streets. That's the life that you ran the streets, but you also we were taught to find a safe woman. You didn't want to marry a woman from the streets too, because that was just too much. You had to marry as we call it, a square. Find your square.
So if you're in the streets, then where do you go to
Yeah,
find
right.
a square? You
At
gotta
the
go find
grocery
it. At the grocery store. At church. You gotta go to
Church,
church. You gotta go to
stuff like
church.
that.
You gotta go to church.
But it was so crazy because she and I met from a car club, because back then, we used to car clubs. I had a Mustang, but then I upgraded because I was hustling, and I had a Navigator, but I'm still in the car club, and I met her then. Yeah, she was square. Like when I say square, meaning like she didn't have any vices.
Safe.
She didn't have any vices. She didn't drink. She wasn't in the clubs partying. She didn't smoke. She didn't do any of those things. So she was
She's
safe.
a good girl.
Right, she was a good girl.
Safe girl.
Oh, got it.
Right. And so
Did you know this when you met her, or did you have to find that out? Like,
that's one of the
You
things.
can look at it and tell.
Oh, you looked at her.
Oh, yeah.
She had on some
Like,
kitty loafers. or
like
something?
I'd be like, so,
Not that
no,
safe.
so real talk. No, but let's just say, like, if we was in the street and I had to, like, I couldn't holler at you because I knew you had game like me, but then I might look at you because you would be more square for me, right? Because you may not know, the game.
She's gonna say that.
Because you from Northtown, Los
This is true.
Out of Detroit and North, yeah, I'm square. All day. You're right. You're right.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
But you see what I'm saying? So that's, but that's how the vibe when you knew. Like
I didn't know that though. I mean, this is, you giving us
No.
game about
Yeah,
how
I would
many
kick it
things-
with you.
Yeah,
I would
didn't
kick it
know
with you on the
They
streets
think
because
like
it would
that.
be fun.
You do it?
Oh yeah, they think like that.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'm
I would
gonna
kick it
learn.
with you on the street because we gonna have a good time. We on the same thing, but hey, I'm going back to my square. Hey, safe.
Safe,
We gonna
safe,
well,
and
it's
not
safe.
fun.
Ain't nobody gonna ask no questions. Da da da.
You might get a cooked meal every now and then.
Right.
Okay.
So that was my upbringing, and for a while there was I kid you not, like when you only know one thing, meaning the streets and hustle and the life and people, and then you try to attempt to transition in corporate America, it's a battle of two words because I see the phoniness, I see the fake, I see all of that. Right? I see that because I see, you just doing this because you want your little check, so you gonna kiss ass up to these other folks because you worried about your pay. But over here, there was a code, there was an honor,
Yeah.
and you just kept it real, and those things for me just kept like, man. But then you kind of learn. The next thing you know, you take it on both sides, and it was like a lot. It made the journey a whole lot different because now you're seeing two different type of lifestyles. Like the same thing that people are taught to grow up, go to school, get an education, get a great job, be phony, you know, do this, do what you got to do so you get paid. You know, his ass wear this mask, you hate your job, but you know, in a certain way. And I never fit in corporate America because that wasn't me. It was just uncomfortable. And so, craziest thing happened. I started doing like security at nightclubs in Chicago. And one day I applied for a concealed weapon card. I'm like, might as well, you know, try and see what happened. I got approved.
What
With
is
felony-
happening
Did the
here?
felony fall off?
Well, those
No, those
through
don't
the
follow.
cracks.
That's why I asked. 'Cause
Wait,
but you
they
also
never
don't
fall
get a
off?
concealed. No, I didn't think so. But how can you get a concealed weapon with a felony? You can't.
Yeah.
But I
So-
kind of feel bad. Like your felony is not like
But it doesn't
You know what I
matter.
mean?
Felony,
Yeah, felony
don't
is
care.
the smallest.
maybe you know
Yeah.
you
I
talk
have
to
a
them and
friend
let them know
that
like, look, yes, I have a felony, but really like I open my mouth and some things happen. And
Yeah, it sounds
you know,
good from a
Is that what you were telling
forgiveness and morally.
But
Yeah,
on
we forgive you,
paper,
but on
right,
paper, that's
on
a totally
paper,
different
no.
story. But once again, and I'm saying all this to say that if you can ever get out of the reality of that you have to see something in order for it to be believed, that it's not like that. Like when there's something meant for you, there's a higher powered source that makes anything happen. So when people say, man, that happened, like, yeah, like there's a lot of things like that happen, but we're not used to things like that happen. We're used to that we have to control our outcomes and make things happen. When you think about, we live in this world, this universe of so many different things that, you know, evolution from computers to radios to TV, these gifts. I mean, man, this is like some straight up crazy.
It's like it's good in a good way. I mean, people can turn it into something. It's so funny that you said that because I was just like thinking this along these lines this morning. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wow, this is so incredible. And you know, there's two sides to it because a lot of people are like, oh, the internet is distracting and this is and that. And I'm like, but the internet has, you know, brought families together and, you know, it's done amazing good things, and it really just is about perspective.
Man,
Yeah, it's the tools and how you use them.
Oh.
And it goes
Exactly.
back to the manifestation, you know, part of what we, you know, Angel and I were having that conversation of just like everything we look at, everything we see, like it was all just a vision, a thought, like, you know,
that law of attraction is
and
real.
then it
it
developed
is
into becoming something that now we see and use, and you know, and like you said, then it can kind of turn into like the live without, and you know, but it's amazing, right?
It
Like,
is.
Look, you know, we call it law of attraction. Before we call it faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, faith, law of attraction for me is the same thing. If you truly believe in it, it will be manifested. And that's been happening for so long. And it's happened to everybody. I don't care who you are. You have thought about something so hard that you actually manifested it. You don't even know how you did it. So when people say, like, how'd you get through that? That's not me. I wanted something and it happened. And when I look back of my whole journey of life, there was that law of attraction and that manifestation that was always happening. And so I end up doing security in these nightclubs and having a whole crew and
Got your concealed weapon.
got all of that good stuff. You know, I'm doing like straight up police work now. You know, like, man, you on the streets and you the police too? What's going on? Like, you got credentials? I mean, what's happening? But it was so crazy because then I see, you know what? I had an opportunity to do some bodyguard work. You know, my girl who I was dating at the time, now my ex-wife, but she was a friend, her sister, boyfriend was in college. He just got drafted by the Ravens, and he got in trouble. He almost got in trouble, but then he was like, man, we can't do this. But then I started like, you know what if I did my own private security company, my own bodyguard work? And then I started actually getting these clients that would say, hey, I heard about, you know, you're doing work in Chicago, these nightclubs, you know, come to Vegas. You
So
know?
you had a staff out there? It wasn't just you that you were just contracting yourself. Like you had a staff?
No, when I was doing security in nightclubs, we had a crew there. But when I would do the bodyguard work, I had clients that would say, hey, can you come be
To be
in
my-
Vegas
okay,
and
gotcha.
be my
So it was
bodyguard?
just
It was just
Right.
you. Gotcha.
Okay, got
And so this is when I was working at AT&T, but I had a great job.
So you were working at AT&T and being a bodyguard?
Man, I was at AT&T. Remember, we grew up hustling, and hustling meant you all had multiple streams of income coming in. I worked at AT&T. I was doing security at nightclubs. I had a mobile car wash company. I had a deck restoration company. And I
What
was
is
trying
that?
to go to
A what?
Deck
like you see these
Restoring the
floors,
wood.
the wood, restoring the wood, and you power wash it.
You were doing that too?
All of that. That's what we do.
When?
That's what I
Wait,
said.
like give me your schedule.
Weekends, you got
Every
Calendar,
nighttime,
like-
this security at the clubs were at nighttime.
Well, yeah, okay.
And I had a-
AT&T was during the day.
I had a great job at AT&T where I didn't have to be in the office because I was in the field.
Oh, you
So
in
I
the
was-
field.
I was
Oh, okay.
moonlighting.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're washing some windows while you're selling phones.
Exactly.
You're like, I give you this phone and throw it a free wash.
Yeah, we had at the time they was constructing this whole new cable thing, so we was out there in the field. But that was it. And then I used to travel to Vegas for my clients to do work. And then it got to a point where I was married, but I was always gone. And we separated. And that's when I moved to Vegas in 2010.
So you have 2 boys. Let's back up a little bit because in all of this, then you had 2 kids.
When I got married,
You got married,
when,
yeah.
when I got married,
Yeah, right.
when I got married to Terrell,
What year did you all get married?
oh man,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, let me see, my son is 11 and 13, so 13 years from, oh man, geez, 2000.
You're 11 and 13.
11 and 9, my boys are
Oh,
now.
okay.
I knew them, so I'm just trying to just backtrack the number. Like 15 years ago, I've been doing about 14 years. So I don't know, whatever, 13
You don't
years.
remember when? Yep.
2005.
Yeah.
And then you had a son how long after?
Maybe a year or 2 after, because she was like, we not having no kids until we married. She was on it.
Did you want kids?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I had another son prior when I was in college, but life and hustling just separated us, and so I knew I wanted a family because I lived in a family. You know, my father was all about family, and I knew Terrell was a safe person to have a family with.
Right.
But even then, I married her for the wrong reasons. I married her because she was safe, and so. But I gotta say this, like that woman, man, endured a lot of my shit. A lot. I mean, I was probably the worst husband that one could be, the worst person to her. And that woman has stuck by me for the last 20 years. And I give her straight up credit. I tell people right now, I don't care about nobody's opinion out here but hers. And if she don't have a problem with me, F everybody else. For real.
It's really good to see you all's relationship too, because I think people need to see that. Sometimes marriages don't work out, but you don't have to be mad at each other. Even I'm sure you all went through your changes.
Oh, we went through it.
But to see you all's relationship now.
Where it is
very
now?
refreshing.
Oh man, where it is now.
So you moved all of you and your whole family
No.
down to Vegas?
I moved
So
out
back
here.
up. I'm just so back up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2010, I'm back and forth. She and I going through a separation. I come out here, and I get to work, and I got the boys out here. But I was hustling so much out here because now I'm doing bodyguard work, personal training, and my life is back and forth Thursday through Monday. I'm in the clubs. I'm on the strip, and she ended up telling this woman, man, it's a beast. She ended up moving out here to help take care of the boys, and she just relocated, because at first it was gonna be like, let's ship the kids back and forth, and I was like, no, we're not gonna do all that. And she ended up moving out here to Vegas, and even then she took care of the kids, which gave me the excuse to stay away from them even more. So I was a drive-by dad. I was saying I was a father, but I was just around long enough to pick them up, drop them back off at the daycare and after-school program. And I was hustling so much that they would go from school from 7 to 7 for the most part every day.
Whoa.
They would go to school and then get taken to after school, aftercare. And that was in 2010. And once again, living that hustle lifestyle. Here I am, bodyguards, getting party favors for the clients, and here I am risking my freedom again, because if I get caught up with these party favors, I'm going back. And drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what it was either, and now you just.
You're from Detroit.
I
Come
know.
on,
Well,
man.
I did in my
Oh, you
defense.
know.
I did move to
So
Vegas
wait,
when I was 14.
Your
Okay.
clients
So,
would
yeah, I
actually
missed
get
that.
the party favors?
Yeah.
And so
So
And then I never
how
really
did
lived
you
in
find
Israel
that?
after
Like,
How you find out here in Vegas?
well, how did you find that?
I'm sorry, I missed this
That's
comment.
hilarious.
She's like, no,
But
how
you
you
don't
find the
even-
party face?
But you didn't live out here, like you didn't know.
You didn't have to. Once you
I don't
hit,
even know where to get a party favor.
go to the
Well, we
nightclub.
can tell you now, they got one
yeah.
every corner called dispensaries.
Well, that's a different. I mean, that.
It don't
Well,
matter,
look-
party favors a party, especially
Yeah,
back
but
then.
you know, you go to the clubs,
Sure, back
man.
then.
You got your promoters and your hosts. You're like, look, my people need that, you know, need some snow, need some candy, need some mollies, need some eggs. They need all of this
What's
stuff.
candy? What's
She's like,
candy?
what's candy?
What's candy?
I got the snow.
I got the snow too. What's candy?
Same thing.
Is it crack?
Okay.
Oh my god.
I mean, because candy's like, crack is like rocket. So,
And anything that makes
Like,
you
that's
feel
a
good.
good way to put it.
thank you. See, I was thinking.
Because when he said snow, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I
that
got
was
snow. I didn't know what candy was. I thought
Yeah.
that was something. Molly's.
Nose candy. we call it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I really didn't know. I'm glad you
Oh, so
asked.
you just
me.
asked the promoter, and the promoter tells you.
Then
what
you know what I'm
candy
saying? Then you get connected.
Hilarious.
Then you start meeting people. You start knowing people. You know, you start making calls to people.
Got it.
Once you're in that life, you start meeting everybody. You know all the escorts and all the women of the night. You know that, and they know where to get the stuff from. So you start meeting your own contact.
Got
But
it.
that
You're
was-
jeopardizing your
Yeah, you're freedom.
So I'm bringing my same lifestyle from Chicago
Out
to
here.
Vegas. When I moved from Chicago to Vegas, it was because a couple of reasons. One, I thought I had the opportunity to actually do my own private security company, and the streets were getting even that much rougher. And I got two boys, so I'm like, I got to get out of here. But the thing about it is, wherever I went, I was still with me. So I'm bringing that same person with me
Right.
to a different place, different
Okay.
city, but the same person. And so, 2010, I'm out here, and then about 2013, I mean, my life just like I'm looking for more streams of income, and someone turned me on to a network marketing company, and that's when the beginning of my life changed. And when I say change, that when I got to this network marketing company, I was hustling supplements now.
Mm-hmm.
I was hustling
You're probably
supplements.
good at it too.
Man, yeah. If I believe in it, I can sell it.
Yeah.
Right? And I started selling supplements.
What kind of supplement? Candy again?
oh my god.
The network marketing company sells candy too. What kind of network?
Health,
I wanna know
health
what that.
supplements like omegas and 369s and vitamins and health stuff.
Yeah,
Fish oils.
Yeah, fish oils and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Oil silver.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was hustling supplements.
It's like, okay, this is something I can get with. I know those terms.
Yeah, those I can get.
And I remember, I'll never forget the person that introduced me to it. You know, it was my ex-girl I was dating. Her coach was, she used to play lingerie football, and her coach was the coach of the team. And he's like, yeah, you know, what you need money from? I was like,
Lingerie football. You gotta go
I'm
back.
with you on that one. Lingerie
Lingerie
football.
Las Vegas,
Never heard of that.
Las Vegas used to have a lingerie football team here.
A team?
A whole team? Who were they playing against?
Other lingerie football team.
That was a thing.
Wow.
In
Okay.
2013,
I didn't know that.
Look that up.
Lingerie football
Yes, we
league.
will.
Yeah, LFL.
You
They
knew
had
it
everything.
too.
Yeah.
Did they have a Super Bowl too?
I don't know. They had a championship game.
They gotta win trophies somehow.
Some-
Remember they played Cash and Field? You know about it?
No, they used to play at one of these arenas like the New Orleans. They used to play at the Orleans arena.
Her face was priceless.
No.
Yeah,
How didn't they know about it back then though?
2013.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This is
Not to be a
hilarious.
part of it, but just, you know.
See, that's what happens when you raise up on the north side.
Yeah, what was it? Northside then?
Oh.
That's great. Okay, so that's
So I started hustling supplements, and I get people to buy. People want to get in shape. People want to lose weight. People want to feel good. I can sell that. And I'll never forget the guy asked me like, well, why do you want to sell it? Because at this time, my clients were declining because they were getting in so much trouble and they were being threatened. Like, hey, if you get in trouble, you can lose your contracts because they were athletes. So I needed another stream of income because I couldn't even pay daycare. You know, I was that father that, man, I would wait till 6:30 when the administrator would leave so I can go and get the boys without hearing, hey, Mr. Chandler, your bill is late again.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, if I could just make an extra $300 from this and pay it, cool. And I'll never forget, I was doing it, man, and it got to a point where I was just, man, declining. It's like when you're a hustler, man, you get these momentums, you come down, you go up. There's nothing
It's
ever
tiring,
consistent.
though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget when I got my first check from this network marketing company. It was like $267.10. I'll never forget it. And see, when you're a hustler, man, we didn't have credit cards. You didn't have any type of paper trail. I didn't have a bank account, none of that. And I remember I get this check because I don't have a bank account. I'm like, I don't even know how to cash it. I asked my ex-wife, like, Terrell, I'm supposed to cash this check. She's like, well, you can deposit in my account. I'm like, no, that ain't happening.
You ain't taking my money.
Go to Orleans.
Well, she's like, you go to Walmart. Right? Walmart
go.
cash everything.
Yeah.
So I went to Walmart, took the boys there. It was the funniest thing because for whatever reason, I didn't think they was going to cash the check. And they cashed it. It was on a Friday. And the boys with me. And like, man, this was the first time because I was always gone. And I said, hey, what do y'all want to do? We got some money. And like, let's go get pizza. And that day, 2013, like June, became Takeout Friday. So if you ever see me post, that's how Takeout Friday was created. So every Friday, we went out to go celebrate that first check. Because that was really the first kind of like honest check I had, you know? And so that's when the journey for me to say, man, am I really being a father to these boys? Am I really being, present in their life? And my youngest son, Justin, I'll never forget, like, by this time we were going back and forth between his mom's house and mine. And I think one day I said to him, like, man, aren't you glad to be over here? And he said something to the fact that, well, it really doesn't matter. It's not like we see you all the time. And so, I ate at home. And so then, as I started selling these supplements, I started realizing that people who wanted to lose weight and feel good, it had nothing to do with the so-called nutrition. It was something much more deeper rooted in them. And I started just
taking on that
digging. Like I could talk to anybody. And I just started just asking questions. And the next thing I know, anytime I spoke life to someone, I didn't know I was called speaking life. I thought it was called, we call it the gift of gab, to be able to talk to anybody, to be able to find things in people, just because when you're a hustler, you meet people, you know how to find their vibrations and their vibes, and you just go with them, and that's how you can influence people. And so I saw that working for me in this network marketing company. And even then, I didn't know what I was doing was a gift. Until a friend of mine told me, like, come on, you can do this too. And one day she just cried. She just broke down. She's like, you don't understand, Rob. I can't do what you do. You have a gift. You have the ability to connect to people and see things in them that they can't see in themselves. I don't have that. And that was a light bulb for me. That was a light bulb. And so from then, 2013, 2000, here I am in this network marketing company. And I'll never forget this. December 2013, December 31st, the girl I was dating who introduced me to the network marketing company, we ended up breaking up. And I was like, oh, you gonna break up with me? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what you just walked away from. I'm about to take this network marketing thing to the next level, for real. I'm gonna blow this thing up, for real. You think you
Andre football, what?
Right.
Where is it now?
Okay.
Yeah, for real. So I was hot. So January of 2014, I made a decision. I'm about to just really make this thing blow up. And so they had this event, this convention. I'll never forget. My check was averaging about $497 for the 2 weeks. I go to this convention to Portland, and the timing of all of this, like I decided I want to do something in December. I go to one of these house meetings where they have these meetings and stuff. They said, yeah, we got an event coming up in January, you should go. And I was gonna go to the one in California. But the dude said, well, I'm going, I got an extra ticket to Portland. Why don't you go to Portland? When I go to Portland in January 2014, Serena, my friend, is speaking on this stage, talking about how she's using this network marketing company part-time while battling cancer. She was on her second round of cancer, breast cancer, battling, but yet she was still doing this network marketing company part-time and making this money. I was like, if she can do this, battling what she's going through, what's my excuse? And I'll never forget, 56 days later, I was averaging about $7,000 a month.
Wow.
Because it triggered something in me. I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm BSing.
Right.
Right? And so I just went to work. And then what happened, she and I and her husband became real good friends. And she called me up like the summer of 2014 and said, hey, we're thinking about moving to Vegas, my husband and I. And I'm like, well, don't do it. Because I'm about to take my game and go to Arizona. I hate Vegas. I'm like, for real, I hate Vegas. I said, because Vegas, because all I know is the hustling.
Did she live in Port? Where did she live?
She lived in Washington.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, don't come to Vegas, because Vegas is not that type of lifestyle at all. I'm tired of hustling. I got a good thing going with this network marketing company. I'm getting ready to go to Arizona because my boys love baseball, right? And she said, well, why aren't you going, why are you moving? I said, because one, there's no community in Vegas. And here's the thing, what I know from my experience. God would put people in your life that you can't say no to, right? And it was her. She says, well, you're not going nowhere. She said, if there's no community in Vegas, then we need to create one. And it probably was a community in Vegas, I just wasn't a part of it. You know?
Well, you had the girls, the lingerie girls. They were
that was a different type of community. That was a party community.
Till December 31st.
Right. After that, it was different. Yeah, it was a different type of community. But then, so she ended up moving to Vegas. We became great friends, and I'm still on my hustling. And then I remember she invited me to church in December, and it was one of those things like, is he talking to me? Like, how you know my story? And then it just started turning on another type of switch, a light bulb in me of self-reflection, like, who am I? Like, I don't even know who I am. But after going there, I felt like I was being held up a mirror, right? And after that journey of transformation just started happening.
And let me ask you this. So because I also was in the network marketing company for some time, and what I found to be one of the greatest things about being a part of it was, besides the money, was the personal development.
1,000%.
So it's interesting that network marketing would be the avenue for you to go through that personal development, because that was the same thing with me when I was, and I think it's just because there's steps, like you probably wouldn't even heard the preacher had you not gone through network marketing.
Right, because it was all about, personal development, your character and integrity, personal growth, and you can't get that personal growth you're looking for on TV. And we get to a point, from my experience, you go to school and you get to a point of you no longer you're no longer reading because you think you know it all now. You don't have to just keep learning and keep growing. I stopped reading. And so I'm going off of what I know. I'm going off of the streets and different things like that. But the network marketing really hones in to find tools on personal development.
That's right.
And when you start reading and hanging around other people who have different wisdom and different knowledge, man, you just start getting your mind just open. And for me, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning now, and I'm reading, and I don't think I've watched TV in probably about 4.5 years, since turning that switch. And from that point on, everything was about unlearning what I knew to really creating whoever I wanted to be. Wasn't about trying to discover who I am who I am, but now I get the opportunity to create whoever I wanted to be. I want to be a great father. I want to be a great person. I want to be a great man. And does that mean I'm not going to make mistakes? No, I'm still going to make some mistakes, But at least if I can own up to it, then I am. Whether you accept it or not, that's on you. But that's what happened with me in this journey, was that I started to discover that I can create whoever I wanted to be. But the challenge was, I still knew this side of me. Right? And that transition of going back and forth and still playing that game and knowing this game, man, it's for real. You put this just in a tangle. And so, but if you stick with it and just stick with it, you'll get that momentum to go here. And I remember a couple of people that have crossed my paths, and I was so in fear of where I was heading that I was going to go back, right? And I remember a couple of brothers told me, no, you trust me, you're never going back. You're never going back. You can't go back.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you can't go back. Your mind would play tricks on like you in, but you're not going back.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, I just kept going forward and forward, and more opportunities just kept coming. I was successful in the network marketing company, and I got someone said, hey, you ought to go to this place called Orange Theory. With your motivation and the way you hype people up, they will love you over there. And I go in and I started training over there. And next thing you know, we got this wait list over there, and people would come to the classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the people that came to my class.
That wasn't cycling though.
No, that was Orange Theory. It was like
Orange
it's
Theory.
That was all just a fitness
right.
gym, yeah.
When did you become a trainer in this?
when I first moved out here, because when I was doing bodyguard work, most of my clients were athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So then I became a personal trainer because there was another way for me to get another
More
stream
clients.
of income. More.
So you got certified and you went through all that? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it don't take much to get certified. You just go online and pay $600 and certified.
Oh.
Yeah. So that
Even
was.
if you don't work out.
Yeah, man, all you gotta do is look like you're in shape. You can just be a trainer. Just real
Got
talk.
it.
There's a lot of people out here that just look like they in shape and ain't certified, man. I mean, the body is complicated, but hey, if you're in shape, people are like, how'd you get there? I did it this way. Take my supplements. Take my supplements. You get whatever you want. Do some push-ups. And so, but then, you know, and I go to Orange Theory and I meet, you know, the young lady who introduced me to cycle and said, hey, would you come teach at our studio? And I went over there, and that journey began over there. But then, that was in 2016. Like here's where this journey is really just getting ready to just really explode. In 2000 and
It's when you met me in Peru.
2016.
That's when it exploded.
Right, so real talk.
Technically us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There were
other people that went to Peru?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In 2016, when I had the opportunity to go to Peru, and that's when we all met.
Yes.
That changed my world. When we went over there and saw those locals over there hustling with the farm stands, I'm like, man, y'all like me and everything. But then it was different because I actually felt sorry for them because of the lifestyle that they were living. Like it looked like it was just poor. You saw what was down there, and I remember talking to somebody. I was like, man, I just feel sorry for them. And like, don't feel sorry for us.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we are. It's like, you know, we sorry for you Americans.
Yeah, a lot of people are sorry.
Yeah, they said, we have so little over here and love so much, and you Americans have so much and love so little.
Mm-hmm.
So you got more than you need.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that just changed my perspective about life, and then meeting all of y'all and going over there. But I think that was the biggest thing, like how 18 people didn't even know each other before then and they end up in another country.
Mm-hmm.
The connection, different things, it's just like, man, if everybody could get outside of that bubble, the bubble, that comfort zone, man, there's a whole new life out there that you can create. So when I came back from Peru and I went back to work cycling, I was different. And, you know, one of the things was that going to the cycling studio, there was another cycling studio coming up and they wanted everybody to sign non-competes. But I came, after coming back from Peru, I'm like, I'm in a different mind state. I'm like, I ain't signing it. And I was so emotional. I definitely handled that wrong. That was like a bad breakup. I was like, da-da-da-da. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here. My ego was just...
I don't think it was wrong. I think that it had to happen in order for you to even know that your ego was still, you know.
That's
like
when I say that I handled it wrong, meaning that when I look back on it, I didn't handle that confrontation, that challenge.
You wouldn't have handled it like you wouldn't have handled it now.
Oh yeah.
Now you wouldn't have handled it like you handled it back then.
But for what I needed at the time to get me to where I am, that had to happen.
Yeah.
And so after that, I parted ways with that studio. But what happened was I had signed a non-compete with them in the beginning, and I couldn't do anything for 90 days. So I'm not working. Now, mind you,
With 2 kids.
With 2 kids, with 2 boys. Now, here's the other part. I come back from Peru in December. January 2nd, the house that we're living in, renting, the owner comes and knocks on the door and says, hey, you know, we talking about selling this house this summer, but my wife wants to sell it now, right? And we got 30 days to leave. Month to month, we got 30 days. So now we got to leave by the end of the month. January 20th, I go to California for my network marketing convention and have this bad accident. I lose my car. Tuesday, January 22nd and 23rd, I come back to the studio when this non-compete thing happened. I'm like, well, if you don't sign it, it's time to part ways. Lose my job. So my house, my car, my job the first 3 weeks of the year. And then 3 weeks later, the network marketing company we parted ways too.
Time to clean house.
Clean house.
Right, everything else started new.
But it was Peru that set me up to be prepared for all this, because when going out to the Amazon and watching them live in a hut, I'm like, I can live in my car and feel good. You know, Dr. Wayne Dyer says, you know, of the 100% things that you own, you only use 20% of things. You know, that's just like, and so I'm like, I'm good. But the most amazing thing happened when I lost everything. The people who I thought would be in my corner, when the people who I least suspected showed up. Like my ex-wife was the first person that said, you can come back here, stay on the couch, you got a roof over your head, and get it together. I know you, I know what you can do. You got it here. And that was a blessing in itself. But then other people started coming through. You know, you came through, helping feed us and stuff like that, because I didn't have no money. And people like, man, hey, I know you do this coaching. I got tickets. I got access for you to go see Tony Robbins. It was just so many things happening. It was like there was a plan for me to be able to get ready to do right now. So I'm not working. I'm on my ex-wife's couch. I get an opportunity to now start teaching at another studio. And after 30 days, they say, hey, we want you to sign a non-compete too. I'm like, bro, I can't sign this. I just told one, I can't do this. What is this thing going for? Like, you know.
Because they want to hold on to you.
Yeah,
They know what they have.
Right, because
there we go.
Man, this is modern day slavery. Modern day slavery. Put this paper on you. You can't go
I know
nowhere.
I know the black people gotta say it. You know,
No, it's okay. I know how to say it, but I knew it. I knew you were gonna say it.
Modern day slavery. Put this non-compete, sign it. We own you. You decide to leave. You can't go nowhere else.
I just don't want you to think like that. That's not.
No, it really is though. No, it's real. It's
That's
real
what it
talk.
is.
Like it
You
is.
don't own
Like,
nobody. So why do I need to sign a paper that says that I can't, if I decide to have an opportunity to go do something else, I can't leave? I can't do that?
That's like rehab. This is like
That's corporate America.
Yeah, but
No matter
I'm
what
in
industry.
fitness. I ain't working for Google or NASA. Hell, I ain't working for Apple or something. What trade secrets you think I'm gonna take, bro? I'm cycling.
You're gonna take your clients, which is
But you don't own them. You don't
They
own.
think they do.
Right, you don't own the clients. They got the freedom to go wherever they want to go.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I learned that the more freedom that you give someone, the more they want to stay there. But you trying to make me stay, like,
That's true.
okay, fine, I'm out then. But what happened, I had another opportunity to go back to Peru. But the day before I leave for Peru, Serena calls me up, right, and tells me that she has cancer for the 5th time. She just got diagnosed for the 5th time with breast cancer, stage 4. I'm on my way to Peru. And I'm like, look, just stay alive. I don't know what's gonna happen, we'll figure it out. I go to Peru, do what we do over there, and I had this awakening. And people had told me before, man, once you start your own studio, 1, I didn't have any money. 2, I didn't have a big enough
I
why.
remember that conversation I had with you.
I'm like, I don't have a big enough why. I can go and start a studio.
A what?
Why?
Like why was
I don't have a purpose. I don't have a big enough purpose.
Why? Got it.
Other than
Okay.
me just say I want to make some money.
Sure.
But then when Serena told me that she had, cancer for the 5th time, and I knew that her only source of income was from her network marketing company, I called a friend up and I'm like, hey, you're in this business industry, you've been doing this, can you help create a business plan for me to open up a studio? And this is what I want to do. I only want to charge $114 a month. I'm like, why 114? Well, that's when I met Serena, January 2014. And I said, and I want $14 of that 114 to go to a non-for-profit that we create in her behalf to help her pay her medical expenses and cost of living. So basically, we got to run a studio that can operate off $100 a month memberships, right?
Which is very low, by the way.
Which is the lowest in Vegas, definitely. And so,
especially for the quality, that you get.
And so she said, well, yeah, we're gonna need a lot of volume. I'm like, if I can, I gotta follow. And it's not about me. right? And so she ran the numbers together and she says, look, to just get a place with bikes and music, minimum lean, is gonna cost about $150,000. I'm like, cool. It's like, it's only one problem. You ain't got no money. You sleeping on your ex-wife's couch, you ain't got no income coming in, your credit is bad because you ain't been paying nothing, you know, you ain't got no resources, right? I said, well, we're always talking about God. We talk about faith. We talk about law of attraction. We talk about this universe of abundance and blessing. And this ain't about me. And if we put this story out there and say what it's about, I guarantee you the right people will come into our life. And from the time I spoke out of my mouth, 45 days later, the community of Las Vegas and other people came together and raised that money for us to have that studio we have right now. When I tell you that so many different things had to be in alignment for that to come together, like the logo on my shirt, this logo, this heart, I met the dude in Peru. Like the timing of that had to happen. Hey, I got this awakening. My man said, hey, he's out, his name is Anthony. He's like, hey, I got a whole graphic team, design. This is what we do. Call me when we get back. I sat down with him over the phone with his whole crew, his team, told him my vision and who I was. And on the first shot, they hit this logo. I mean, even the name The Revolution is not even my idea. That came from the people in the community, right? The tagline was not mine. None of this I take credit for at all. I just put the vision out there. We talk about from the very beginning that we've all had experience of law of attraction and manifesting. We just didn't know how to do it. We just did it. We thought about something long enough and it happened. This here was intentionally manifest. I'm like, I want this because it has nothing to do with me. People came in we found a homeless guy named Jay who did the floors and did the walls. DJ from my boy Roger from SDK came in and did the sound system. All-duty Metro officers did the electrical work on there. High school kids put the logo on the wall with a protractor and string and a pencil. Like people came together, right, to bring this studio together. And this studio is so much more than a fitness studio. That's actually the last component of what we do in that studio. This studio, for me, when I discovered if you can learn how to quiet the mind, right, that the body can relax. If the body can relax, it can release. And when it releases, it opens up for your spirit and your heart to listen, to hear, to feel, right? And if the body is relaxed and it can release, it can heal. It can regenerate. So we can create a space not just for Serena to come through, because I can't help her with her physical, the cancer, but we can create a space where she can check out for 60 minutes. Man, I'm doing my part. And then come and then bring everybody, because we all got a story. We all face challenges. We all got some obstacles. We all got problems. But if I can get you in there and check out where you can focus on you, then we got something. And that's what's been happening. And since then, we opened up in August, and over 800 people have been through that studio.
Wow.
800. And so I was teaching most of the classes, and now in the last 60 days, we got 4 other instructors, and everybody, we call it message-based cycling. Trademark is message-based cycling. What does that mean? That we are here to deliver a message. We're not here to motivate you. We're not here to say that the path that you're on is wrong. It's your journey. Like just being on a bike is the same thing being in life. It's your bike. You go at your pace. You do what you can. You can only control this bike, this vehicle. Same thing in the world. You can only control you.
Right.
And so the more we can pour that into people, the more we can help lead people back to themselves, to reconnect to themselves, to say, hey, you don't have to try to discover what your purpose is. You can create your purpose. We spend so much time talking about, I need to discover who I am. Create who you want to be.
Right.
You can be anything you want to be. We used to tell kids that when he's growing up, and then all of a sudden, no, you can't be anything you want to be. You got to be what the society says you need to be. No. So what do? This studio, The Revolution, is for the people. People to come in there and just check out and just release, because all of us have experienced some type of suffering, loss, pain, and fear. And what I've learned is that we store it here. restore and we hold on to it. And when we hold on to it, the body can heal and regenerate. So then we gain weight. And we think it's our nutrition, but it's much more than that. And if I can help people to say, feel it, now let it go, and open your heart back up.
Right.
And watch what happens. I mean, people are coming through there now who come and ride 6 days a week just because they call it therapy on a bike. Every month we have a family ride because if your child can reach the pedal, they can ride. And who more than us as an adult need to be taught or be spoken life to children. And we tell them you can be anything you want to be. You're beautiful, you're loved, you're special, all of that. Don't you worry about it, kid. We do charity rides every month and we got a big one coming up. Because remember, I told you that my vision was to open up a studio in honor of Serena, but to also help other people and to create a foundation in their behalf. Guess what? We never did a foundation before. But, Serena's thing was, I don't want the whole $14. That's how amazing she is. She's like, just give me half of the 14. Just find a way to create a foundation and put the other half, 7 in there. And anybody that's experienced any type of financial hardship in Vegas, let's find a way to help them out. Wow. I said, okay. And next thing you know, we were told that it's going to take a while to create a non-for-profit just because of all the different things you got to go.
Right.
And it's going to take about 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, we got our letter 6 weeks later. Matter of fact, last Saturday they said we are officially a 501c3. It's called the Live and Love Foundation.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
that is amazing.
And that's separate from Revolution.
That's separate from Revolution. So Serena's birthday is April 23rd. On April 21st, we're doing a Live and Love pledge rise. We're asking people on the back of 60 minutes, right? So we got 60 names on there. Members are taking these sheets with 60 names on there and pledging $10 minimum per line. So if I came to you and said, hey, would you like to donate? You can donate from 10 to 1,000, whatever it is. 50% of the proceeds go to the Live and Love Foundation, and the other half of the proceeds go to keeping our doors open at the Revolution. We didn't open up this door with working capital and all that stuff. We opened it based off of, every month it's been a blessing to keep the doors open.
Right.
I ain't going front like, yeah, we got it made, everything is going good. No, man. We are constantly wanting to get people in there. And it's so crazy because when people come in, like, I don't know what happened. It was quite an experience, but we see now that the more you come in there, you start to figure out what it is.
Just more people just need to know about it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just keep going. The more people know about it, because the classes are amazing. Like, I can just say that personally. Like, it's amazing. It really is, and it really is like, what'd you say? Yoga, going to church,
yoga, club
on a bike. Right.
But
so
it's
there's more people, that's why we wanted to have you on, to really not only just to hear your story and your journey, but also to make sure that we knew that people know that Revolution is here.
So where are you all located, and what's the website?
8820 West Russell. We're off the 215 in Russell, next to South Beach condos. The website's lovetherevolution.com. Your first ride is free, and
Instagram, all of that.
Instagram, follow me, Robert L. Chandler IV. And then you gotta love the revolution. But I will say this, that here's what I learned, that I grew up in a time where we felt like we were divided and separate. Like blacks were blacks and whites were whites, Hispanic, everybody had their own thing. But the more that I've been where I am right now with the revolution, we're all one. We all
have red blood.
Yeah, we all got a story, and your story is no better than mine. And to bring people in that studio to connect with one another and accept. So when you can accept yourself who you are, then you definitely can accept the person next to you. And that's how we ride over there. I mean, there's some great stories that came out of there. I mean, we've only been open 8 months. And I got 2 people who met because of the revolution who are now getting ready to get married.
Wow.
Yeah. The oldest person is enrolled in our class is 72 years old. The youngest is 7. There is no stage that you have to be in as far as the fitness level to ride, because it's your ride.
You don't, because I came in last.
Man, it's your ride. You go at your pace, you know what I'm saying? You go at your pace, and if you want to sit down, you sit down. It's your ride. It's like life. It's your journey. It's your ride. And you do what you can, and when you can't do it enough, you sit down and you rest and you join us. But that's what it's about. And that's the beauty of when you can get out of your own way and just be open. That was the biggest thing coming up as black. You didn't want to ask for help because it made it seem like you were weak.
Right.
Surrendering was weak. Asking for help was weak. No, I'm asking for help now because now we all need some type of help. And the more we help one another, people want to help. And the revolution, I'm telling you, the ultimate vision is for us to build up to enough members, 200 members. And guess what? We're going to be sending this message all global. You're going to be able to access our classes everywhere. Believe that.
Love it.
That's the revolution.
Wow.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming and sharing your story.
Yeah.
That was
Thank you.
incredible.
That will definitely motivate us. For sure.
I think that's the first time someone actually took over the show like that.
I love it.
Yeah, we were all like in awe.
In awe, yeah. Like we usually will stop and ask questions and stuff, but you were just flowing. That was great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing all of those gems and jewels. So tell people again, just in case they missed it and all of that, just tell us where the Revolution is located, and the website and your social media.
Yeah, so we're located 8820 West Russell, Suite 100, 89148, right off the 215 in Russell. We got the capacity to fit 38 people in the bikes in the room. Like even our bikes one was literally donated to us and everything. The website is lovetherevolution.com. Check this out. Check out the schedule. Check out my amazing instructors because this is not going to be expanded and evolved with me. It's not about me at all. The more people I can bring in to do it, we'll do it. And then our Instagram is, I think it's I Love the Revolution. And my personal is Robert L. Chandler IV. And Facebook, same thing, Revolution, Love the Revolution.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you again for listening, tuning in. Wow. Nothing left to be said. There you go.
Come ride. Let's get a ride and release.
Come and ride. Yeah, ride and release.
Quiet mind, stronger body. Let's get it.
Absolutely. All right,
I
dog.
like that message.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.